The first white men to visit Illinois occurred back in 1673. These two men were both Frenchmen, Louis Joliet and Father Jacques Marquette, and they took a canoe trip back in 1673. As you can see, they went across from Lake Michigan over onto the Mississippi River. They did not go all the way to New Orleans. They stopped short, and when they came back heading north again, going home, the Indians said, "Why don't you take a shortcut and go across the Illinois River?" Which they did. And you can kind of see the general trip outline on the blue arrows on this map. This is a map made back in 1750, and by colors it shows which countries were colonizing the United States. And blue is the French colonies. And the remarkable thing, if you look at this map, Illinois is right in the middle of the French territory. So you might wonder, why aren't we all speaking French today? The French eventually ended up transferring their lands to the British in 1763 after the 7-Year War. They had 90 years to really colonize what became eventually the rich farmlands of Illinois, but they were not successful. The only thing left is a few small towns along the Mississippi River. And why is that? Well, the French their approach were fur traders to trade with the Indians, not to colonize. And the English, on the other hand, they were all about settling farms. As the pioneers began to spread westward from the original 13 colonies, it's rather interesting, those first eastern states, they just extended their borders further and further west as the pioneers moved west. And it's hard to read on the map here. You can see Lake Michigan at the top, and that's Illinois below. Virginia actually extended their state boundaries clear over to Illinois, as you can see on the map. Now here's an 1822 map. This was drawn 4 years after Illinois became a state in 1818. You can see there's still huge areas of the state, including central Illinois, that are not settled yet. And the western part was not settled either, but it was called Bounty Land, and it was set aside for veterans of the 1812 war. Back in this time period, Indians were still in central Illinois, so it was pretty risky to settle there. And 1812, just a few years before, was the Fort Dearborn Massacre at Chicago. Now today we think our politicians out in Washington come up with some really harebrained schemes. Well, don't worry about it. They were able to do that back in the old days too. Our friendly representatives out in Washington decided it'd be a really good idea to take care of those Indians, just offer free land to veterans from the 1812 war. So here you'd have a few thousand battle-hardened war veterans and their families could act as buffers between the east settled area and the Native American population. But the veterans were too smart to fall for that one. Most of them chose to sell their lands to land speculators rather than actually settle the land. A few did settle, but the vast majority sold out their rights for money.